Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Okay, we're sort of live, I think. I don't know. We may not have the main channel up. I don't know. Give me a moment here while I check it. If not, we'll shut it all down and start all over. No idea why. One moment. I'm going to just run a little promo thing here and we'll see what we can do to fix things. Stay with me.
Welcome to the Matrix. Chasing the high, everything's fake, psychedelic sky. They said you're free, that's the game. Different screen, always the same. You are what you believe, that's the key. Lock your mind, lose reality. If you believe it, it comes alive. Truth gets buried, nobody survives. The world is watching, brains are washing. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized. Living the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Switch it off, take back your mind. Living the lie. Same old story, louder now. Truth gets lost inside the crowd. Think you're awake, it's in your head. Different cage, dream is dead. The world is watching, brains are washing. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Living the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Switch it off, take back your mind. Living the lie. Break it down, shut it out, turn it off right now. Break the screen, cut the feed, take back what you need. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Living the lie, too tired to fight. Wake up now, take it back tonight. Living the lie, living the lie. No more. Exit the Matrix.
And we're back, and we haven't exited the Matrix. We're in the Maverick Matrix online, the online Matrix, bringing you tonight's top stories, and we are running on all channels now, so we're in much better shape. So what are we going to share with you tonight? Update on the situation with the Iran dual blockade, the blockade on the blockade, the ceasefire that isn't a ceasefire. We'll bring you up to date on that. Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier, meeting with Canada's Prime Minister, making headlines, talking about pipelines, the economy, and not too much about separatism, which is conspicuous in the absence of such dialogue, or not very much of it anyway today. So there's all that, plus the UFO disclosure coming from the Pentagon, also making big headlines tonight. Is it important? Is it significant? Is it a conspiracy theory? Is it a distraction? Or is it really disclosure? We'll dig into it and show you the best of the best of the best, the most sought after, never before seen UFO photos and videos as released today by the Pentagon, the Trump administration. And then, at the end of the program tonight, we will treat you to a special Maverick midnight matinee watch party. And what will tonight's feature be? It's going to be The UFO. It's a vintage film, and it's kind of like one of the first kind of partial documentary type things produced that has resulted in ongoing, lingering curiosity about the possibility of extraterrestrial life out there somewhere. Stay with me. We'll be right back. We'll start digging into all of it on the other side of this.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
It's a very strange day today. You have the UFO files released. You have this, like everything just seems a little off center. Case in point, just as we're preparing to go live tonight, I'm seeing all kinds of new things being posted. This one apparently from today out of the Middle East, something to do with it released. I don't know. I don't even want to show you this. I don't think I'm going to, because it's. Let's just stick on the straight and narrow here for now. Okay, let's just look at what's going on with CENTCOM, because we have. Last night we were on the cutting edge of the latest release. I'm sorry, it's just a bunch of UFO stuff, and we're going to get into that anyway. So I'll show you later. Okay, it's just driving me a little loopy, because it's all loopy stuff. It will drive you crazy if you let it. Maybe that's why they're releasing it. Maybe they want to drive us all nuts, or maybe just distract us. That's another possibility, because what we got today was certainly not what I would. I guess it's disclosure, but not disclosure in any meaningful way. But it's still worth looking at this stuff tonight. So, gonna save that for a little later, because I wanna talk a little bit about what was going on in the Strait of Hormuz over the past, well, really 48 hours, because yesterday we brought you like the up-to-the-minute, most recent information coming out of the Strait, talking about the resumption of hostilities, the fireworks resuming in the face of this so-called ceasefire that Donald Trump keeps mentioning. And it hasn't been a ceasefire at all. And it's continued today. Let's go to the live map first off, okay? And we'll just get the lay of the land here. So, latest information coming out of CENTCOM. over here. Okay, so there's the map. So there's lots of activity going on over there. Bombs. On the map, CENTCOM, U.S. forces disabled the Iranian flagged tankers Sea Star 3 and Sevda today, May 8th, as they attempted to enter an Iranian port in violation of the U.S. blockade. So this is what I was going to tell you about. Yesterday, U.S. attacked some tankers, Iranian tankers. Iran responded. The U.S. says they took defensive action. They're shooting each other. Now, it doesn't look like any of the U.S. vessels yesterday sustained any damage, at least none that was reported. But with the situation right now, I don't know who we really believe. I guess you can believe this video released by Central Command, video saying a U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornet from the USS George H.W. Bush struck both vessels' smokestacks with precision munitions, preventing them from reaching Iran. Here's video. Bring it up full screen for you. This is the Sevda. So this is real. I'd say this is real video. And we have to say that because we don't know what's real anymore with all the AI out there. And here's additional stills. Unclassified. Okay, and then that was that one. Still the same stuff. And bring it up for him. So Iran said yesterday they did hit the U.S. vessels, did damage them, but we're not seeing any actual evidence of that. So I'd say that's probably not true. Okay, bring that down. Let's go back, just bring the map back up. And then I'm going to get to a question that was asked of me overnight, too, about all of this stuff going on in the Middle East. I'll do my best to answer, at least in my own way. Okay, there's the map again. Get that up on the screen. So, we're also seeing reports, certainly coming from Fox News, citing a U.S. official who says airstrikes today targeted empty oil tankers attempting to breach the blockade on Iran. The targeted vessels were super tankers trying to get back to Iran. Attacks also launched against UAE. Second tanker. I've got notes here from what I was taking earlier. And it looks like there were strikes launched from Iran against Dubai. And Israel has resumed strikes again tonight in Lebanon. So it's far from over, folks. Let's do a Truth Social scroll, shall we? Just to get the lay of the land over there. Right off the top. Here we go. Because this is where all the news is happening. Well, not all the news. The top news. Because there's just so much power concentrated in that White House, isn't there? Let's just see what the Donald is saying. Oh, by the way, it's Mother's Day this weekend. What are you doing for your mom? Donald Trump saying Happy Mother's Day weekend to all, especially to the 115,000 Americans who found jobs in the month of April alone, he says. As usual, over 90% of Bloomberg economists, nearly all of whom have a terminal case of Trump derangement syndrome, all caps, underestimated the strength of the Trump economy, he says. despite the best efforts of Jerome, too late and won't leave, Powell, and the America-hating Democrat Party, more Americans are working today than ever before. Happy Mother's Day. And know that we are making America wealthy and safe again. So he says, okay, let's go directly to his page, shall we? Are we on there? Okay, here we go. What's he saying tonight? I'm pleased to announce that, here we go, 5 hours ago. So this will bring us up to date on what he's saying about the situation in the Strait, because it's a flip-flop 180 every 12 hours practically. It says, I am pleased to announce there will be a 3-day ceasefire, May 9th, 10th, and 11th. Oh, okay. This is about Russia and Ukraine. In the war between Russia and Ukraine, the celebration in Russia is for Victory Day, but likewise in Ukraine, because they were also a big part and factor of World War II. The ceasefire will include a suspension of all kinetic activity and also a prison swap of 1,000 prisoners from each country. This request was made directly by me, and I very much appreciate its agreement by President Vladimir Putin and President Volodymyr Zelensky. Hopefully, it is the beginning of the end of a very long, deadly, and hard-fought war. Talks are continuing on ending this major conflict, the biggest since World War II, and we are getting closer and closer every day. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Well, that could be a positive thing. I know that a lot of rhetoric flying back and forth between Zelensky and Putin in recent days, as Russia has been preparing for the May 9th Victory Day parade this year. We are told that we've been told that Russia would not be as large, because a lot of the military hardware that they would otherwise put on display during the parade was not going to be included because of concerns about attacks from Ukraine. So it will be interesting now to see if Putin rolls out the hardware that was otherwise going to be kept away from the event because of concerns about Ukraine reaching out and touching them with drone strikes, or maybe missile strikes. And Zelensky posting online in the last, it was just yesterday, I think he was saying that the concerns coming from Putin show that Ukraine is gaining ground because, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said it's because now even Russia's ability to hold a parade depends on Ukraine. And indeed, we have seen a real shift in the way this entire conflict has been unfolding and evolving, and that's because Ukraine has been hitting the oil infrastructure and military targets inside Russia. And it is having an impact not just on Russia's kinetic capabilities, but also on, I think, the public morale and attitude inside Russia as well. So things not as cut and dried as we were told it was going to be in the beginning days of this war over in Ukraine. Scroll down, keep going. James Woods, extremely stable genius. Go back, get onto the proper page here. What else is Trump posting tonight? 11 hours ago, so we're getting in. Okay, we had this all last night. The length of the wars thing, which is kind of weird too. Okay, so that kind of brings us up to date there. There really hasn't been a lot of change in the Strait, other than you have these additional attacks now on the tankers, and then the retaliatory attacks back and forth. They're shooting each other. They're shooting at each other, and there have been strikes inside Iran today in Dubai because Iran launching attacks that way. It's a mess. It's still chaos over there. It isn't a ceasefire, even though Trump is saying it's a ceasefire. It clearly is not. And maybe there's still progress being made toward some sort of they're looking at what's supposed to be a one-page memorandum, an MOU, I guess is really what they're calling it, to bring this to at least a conclusion so that they can maybe get a longer term peace. But if this is peace, I don't know. I'd hate to see war. I suppose it could get worse with even larger, more widespread and intensified attacks, but this sure as heck doesn't look like peace to me. Let's just pivot away from all of this, because this is insanity. This is chaos in itself. And we'll come back on the other side, start digging into some of today's other top news stories. Significant stuff, too.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta, today met with Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. And just yesterday, she sent a message to Carney saying that there was some, that basically the separatists and the people pushing for pipelines and major infrastructure getting impatient on this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, a different MOU out in Alberta, all designed to address the issue of, really, the main thing is they want a pipeline built to the West Coast. So today, met with Carney, came out of this whole thing saying she's feeling much more optimistic. And I think what we're hearing from Danielle Smith is very carefully worded, she's choosing her words carefully to not upset her separatist base and conservative base. Let's go first to the meeting where it's a photo op, and you can take from it what you will. But this is just the two of them meeting in Ottawa today. This is ahead of her address to the big conservative powwow that they're having over there. And I say that because some of them were making comments about land acknowledgements, and I don't even want to get into that. It's so distasteful, some of what's going on. Anyway, here's Smith.
Well, Premier, welcome.
Welcome
back. Thank you for making the time. We've been meeting and talking over the course of the past year, and I have to say I'm very pleased with the progress we've been making. We have more to do, which is why we're sitting down today. But just thinking back, the cooperation agreement on regulation, so that one-stop shop on regulation, the methane agreement, of course the MOU, which we're building off of, the enhanced oil recovery measures that were in the update, a series of other areas where we're working to make Canada work better for Albertans and for all Canadians. And when Canada works well, it's good for the world. And I think you probably, I'm sure you did, I certainly hear it when I go around the world and meet our partners, that they want more Canada and more Alberta. So, alors je vous souhaite la bienvenue ici. Il y aura des discussions très importantes, mais il faut il faut reconnaître le grand progrès que nous avons déjà fait ensemble pendant la dernière année.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We've had some really constructive conversations over the last number of months since the MOU. Still have a few things to work out, and I hope that we can get to the finish line on signing that MOU. I know industry is getting a bit impatient. Albertans are getting a little bit impatient. And if we're going to move forward with that MOU, I hope it happens in the next number of days, because I think in Alberta there does need to be a demonstration that Canada can work. And I think that we've demonstrated a couple of things over the last number of months that we can work well together. We've changed course on a number of things, and Alberta wants to continue to build major projects in partnership with the federal government. So we're looking forward to seeing if we can make some progress and get this to the finish line.
Yeah, track record's there, I'm sure we will. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Handshake, yeah. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Okay, we gotta work. Good work.
All right, and then after that, Smith went out to take questions from reporters in this media scrum. And here's how that went.
All right, thanks everybody for being here. Today, Prime Minister Mark Carney and I made significant progress towards reaching an agreement on a West Coast pipeline and carbon pricing that will protect Alberta ratepayers and businesses and result in hundreds of billions of dollars in new investment in the Alberta and Canadian economies. There's, of course, still some work that needs to be done to get to the finish line and to ensure the interests of Albertans and our industries are properly protected. But I am now much more confident that this will be completed well before Alberta's West Coast pipeline submission to the Major Projects Office next month. You also heard my comments at the Canada Strong and Free conference, so happy to take any questions.
Hi, Premier. Laura Osmond with The Logic. I wanted to start by asking you about what changed. You said you went into that meeting not feeling so optimistic. So what changed over the course of that conversation, and where is the daylight still between the positions of Alberta and Ottawa?
Well, we'll be able to be a little bit more forthright about, you'll be able to see once the agreement is completed where some of the additional measures needed to be fleshed out. I think there was just the big issue, we knew it would be, is we agreed in the MOU to a $130 price, and the question was, how quickly do we get there in the environment that we're in? Now, that's always been really at the heart of the discussions, and so I think we had a meeting of the minds today on a few of the outstanding issues, and I hope to have something more firm to announce very, very soon.
Bonjour, Madame Smith. Christian Noël avec Radio-Canada. With the federal announcement today, do you feel you have all the cards you need? Is it enough to attract a private proponent for that pipeline?
Well, we have a couple more steps first. We have to finish the work of submitting our proposal to the Major Projects Office. We were evaluating 5 different routes, and so that one will map out what we were considering and also the preferred route. We also have had all of the major pipeline companies at the table advising us on this, and our anticipation would be that, yes, once it is submitted, once there's a positive indication that we'll be able to move ahead, that we will have significant private sector proponents behind it. These kinds of massive projects can only be built with the private sector. And I said from the very beginning that if the only way to get major projects like this built is for them to be nationalized or government run, that'll be a failure of the exercise. What we're all trying to do is to attract private capital back so that we can make sure that we have these kinds of projects constructed.
So Cormac McSweeney with City News. So to clarify, when you submit in June, you won't have a private sector proponent attached. And then my question would be, will you support a public inquiry into the alleged electoral list leak, as 38 Alberta professors have also urged?
Well, let me answer the first one. A private sector proponent won't come forward until they have some certainty that it will get built. We got caught on this because TC Energy had put in billions of dollars to help build Keystone XL, and the presidential permit got pulled. Enbridge had put in billions of dollars on Northern Gateway, and then the approvals got pulled. Energy East had already spent $1 billion on a regulatory approval pipeline before pulling the plug because they couldn't see a pathway to completion. So the precondition to getting a private sector proponent is they have to have reasonable certainty that the federal government, the BC government, us, First Nations, are aligned so that the project will get built. So don't be surprised that there isn't somebody coming forward yet on the submission, but in order to get it built, there will have to be a private sector proponent who will build it, or a consortium of them. I think people need to understand about the data breach in Alberta. These are Elections Alberta lists that they make.
And just before I continue to let that roll, I did watch the full address today that she made at the Canada Strong and Free Network conference. It's a conservative get-together, right? And it was notable that there wasn't one syllable spoken about separatism. She gave her speech, then went over for an interview with Jasmine Lane, the pro-conservative paid influencer, who just asked a bunch of very friendly questions, but not a word about the separatist movement, what's going on, not a word about this issue. I'm not going to run the speech or the questions because it was all just stuff that had been said before. I'll comment on it on the other side of this, but this is more valuable because you're getting a variety of questions and she's being asked to address the actual issues here, not just say what she wants to say.
Available to political parties. They seed those lists so they know which list goes to which party. They have identified the Republican Party as the source of this list, and they have also commenced activities to, to ensure that the 568 people who have been identified as having accessed it are going to cease and desist. Though the process is working, we are encouraged by that. They also have the power under the Public Inquiries Act to compel testimony and to get to the bottom of it. And we believe that they need to be allowed to do their work. This is the reason we have independent commissioners empowered in this way, so that when they find evidence of wrongdoing, they can do the investigation, solve the breach, and then make determinations on what the penalties will be, if any. And we do not, as politicians, want to interfere in that process. If we interfere in that process, it could prevent the people who are responsible from being held accountable, and we want them held accountable. There is also an RCMP investigation going on because there's some indication that this may have also breached several criminal code provisions. And we do not want to interfere in the RCMP doing that for the same reason. They have to be held accountable. So at some future point, we may want to do a review of whether there needs to be any changes to the legislation to ensure that the investigative arm has all the powers that they need and all the resources that they need to do these kinds of investigations, but not right in the middle of an investigation. So I would just park that until these investigations are complete, and then we'll see what comes out of it.
Wally Tamtam with the Western Standard. Yesterday, Naheed Nen.
And maybe I shouldn't say anything, but what is she eating? Like, it's distracting me. What is she eating? She made some remarks saying that you would never get higher security clearance because you have, quote, proven yourself to be a foreign agent. He then said he hoped you wouldn't share the information you received through that clearance with the independence movement leadership. Could you please comment on those remarks and the accusations made by the leader? And of course, what's your message to Albertans that are growing impatient after your meeting with Mark Carney?
Well, he's becoming increasingly unhinged. I think people are seeing that, and the antics that he's engaging in, where he simply just makes things up and doesn't tell the truth, it's really damaging his credibility. I do, in fact, have top secret status, and I will, in fact, be getting a briefing from CSIS, because it's my job. Our province is a major energy producer in the world. And we have the potential to be a target from all kinds of bad actors. And to protect my people and my industry, I need to be fully apprised of what's going on. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I would hope that the leader of the official opposition would be a lot more constructive and a lot more truthful when he takes the mic next time.
Hi, Premier Stephanie Taylor, National Post. From Alberta's perspective, how many years, even roughly, would you consider it to be reasonable to reach that effective minimum price of $130 per tonne? And what kind of compromise are you asking or seeking from the federal government in order to get Alberta to sign off on that timeline?
Well, I would say that the Prime Minister and I both went into the discussions not looking for a compromise, but looking for a win-win. And I think we have to level set on where we were. As I mentioned, we were looking at a $170 carbon price by 2030, which was completely unachievable. We were looking at emissions caps that would have shut in production. We were looking at net zero power regs, which would have prevented any investment in our natural gas power grid and impaired our ability to attract investment for AI data centers. So we have already seen a number of win-wins by seeing many of those laws addressed. When it comes to the time frame, again, it's just one of those judgment calls. We had differences of opinion about how quickly we could move and the impact that it would have on the energy sector, and we found that we got closer today to a point where we both feel, I think, pretty confident that we'll be able to get to a deal.
Can you quantify from Alberta's perspective, like how many years are you looking?
You'll see. I mean, you'll see when the deal gets signed and we're able to reveal it. We will give full details on that, and so you'll be able to see.
Hi, Annie Bergeron-Oliver with CTV National News. In your speech today, you said that a final agreement is necessary to show Albertans that Canada can work. Do you believe that a final agreement is necessary to quell some of the separatist movement in your province? And if you don't get a deal in the next coming days as you want, then what? What are the consequences?
Well, I've always taken the independence movement very seriously. From the moment I talked to Prime Minister Mark Carney about it, and remember, he was in the UK at the time that Brexit was not taken as seriously by political leaders, and it ended up going in a way that was unexpected at that time. And I don't want that to happen. I want I know that there are people who are frustrated, disappointed, given up. And it's my job, and I think he sees it as his job, to make the case about how we can work through these differences. I think that we'll never agree 100% on everything, but we have to demonstrate that cooperative federalism works, that in areas of provincial jurisdiction we get to assert that we can do things our own way. In areas of joint jurisdiction we have to be able to find ways to get to a win-win. And I think this is going to be really important. We do ask Albertans how they feel about the MOU, very high level of support for it. We've asked them, do you want us to keep working and getting to a deal? They say yes. But we have also seen that the level of people saying that they're frustrated, that they doubt that we'll get a pipeline built. That's also increased. And with it, the number of people who say that they'd be prepared to vote for independence. We don't want that. We want to go the other direction. So I think that the Prime Minister is motivated. I am certainly motivated. And then we just have to keep on identifying those issues that have caused friction and work through them one by one. And I'm committed to doing that, and I think the Prime Minister is as well.
Hello, Premier Smith. Alexa Lavoie for Rebel News. What is your response to the Cenovus CEO saying Canada is no longer competitive in the oil and gas sector and blaming the federal government for it? And Mark Carney's reaction that it's not true?
I would say that we do have a higher cost to develop our resources than other jurisdictions. When you're on tidewater, it's just, and don't have to build extensive pipelines across vast territories, you just do have a lower cost. That's part of the reason our Western Canada Select is discounted, is that you have to take into account the cost to get it to market. That being said, what we are hearing from our trading partners is, with the uncertainty caused by the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz, they actually want to diversify their suppliers for their own certainty and guarantees. Will they be prepared to pay a premium for that? I think they will. And that's what we're going to see. I think that the uncertainty that has been caused and the disruption that has been caused, and in some markets the potential for shortages, I think that has really caused a lot of our trading partners to look at Alberta and look at Canada and say, can you be part of our answer? So we will always be a higher cost basin. Yes, carbon prices will make us slightly higher cost than other jurisdictions, but we're trying to land the price at a level where it's not going to make an enormous difference in those investment decisions. Some of the previous framework would have, but I think we're going to try to land on a place where, yeah, it'll be an additional cost, but we think we'll still be able to attract that investment for the reasons I said. Thanks.
2-3 more questions.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Premier Smith. Tamara Leach with Rebel News. During the Freedom Convoy, subsidized media coordinated to discredit Canadians concerned about pandemic policies. Now, some of these same outlets claim Russia is influencing Alberta's independence movement. Do you see this as another attempt to discredit grassroots movements, and are you concerned about the pattern of dismissing voices advocating for freedom and democracy?
Well, I can tell you we took a bit of a different approach in Alberta when I came in, because I believe in choice of people on their medical decisions, and we believe in free speech. We think that Albertans are smart enough to be able to look at a number of different viewpoints and figure things out. And I know that there has been one report on this, but I can tell you my public safety minister has been in touch with the RCMP, and he read their statement in the legislature last week saying that there is no credible evidence that we're seeing any state actors who are interfering in our politics. But that's part of the reason why I want to get the top secret status.
I need to pause there because what the RCMP looks for is criminal activity. That's not to say there isn't foreign influence. She's glossing over this. The RCMP looks for criminal activity, something rising to a criminal level, so that when they're saying there's no credible evidence of foreign interference, they mean on a criminal level or an illegal level. That's not to say that there isn't influence. There obviously is. There's been more than one study into this, and it's obvious right on its face. And you can go watch the videos, and you can trace them back to where they're coming from. And some of the biggest influencers out there are not Americans, and some of them that claim to be Canadian don't live in Canada at all.
So that I can be assured that that is going to remain the case. And if there are threats, that I'm prepared with my team to be able to deal with it.
I'm Alex Ballingall at the Toronto Star. You sound pretty confident there is a deal coming on the MOU. I think you said when the deal gets signed at some point. So do we basically have a deal at this point? And on pathways, what should we expect on that? Will there be like a timeline for construction if there is a deal on this MOU?
Well, you may have noticed this morning I said if a deal gets signed, and afterwards I said when a deal gets signed. So that is an indication of my improved level of confidence after talking through some of the areas that we found that were of disagreement. Pathways is the next step. There's still a couple more agreements we have to come to. Let's remember where we're at. We came to an agreement on net zero power regs being put in abeyance. We came to an agreement on eliminating the emissions cap. We came to an agreement on methane. We've come to an agreement on them transferring the approval process to our province when it comes to major projects. We signed that a couple of weeks ago. We've developed our 120-day time frame for approvals. We still have work to do on getting a framework for adding nuclear to the grid, which we are committed to doing by January 2027, and of course this carbon pricing deal, which is a prerequisite to going into the discussions with Pathways. We knew from the beginning that there's a linkage between getting this new pipeline to the West Coast and doing so in a way that was the least carbon-intensive barrel for heavy oil on the planet, and doing so requires the investment in some of this emissions reduction technology. And you'll see the framework for how we think we're going to get there once we just hammer out a few final details on the MOU, and then the discussions with the Pathways group will continue after that. And I hope they don't take too long, because Pathways also needs to have the certainty so that they can go to their boards of directors and start planning for how we're going to increase production. So I would say that this framework is pretty essential before we begin that conversation.
We just have time for one more.
Good afternoon, Premier Kate McKenna from CBC News. I'm wondering if you and the Prime Minister spoke about the federal proposals to speed up the approval process for major projects, including a proposed streamlining of the process for pipeline approval, and what you think of what's being discussed?
Well, I hope we see that, because I think the Major Projects Office was a bit of an overlay on a process that's not working. And we've seen this elsewhere. We saw it in the United States with their Energy Dominance Council. That was sort of a recognition that not having some kind of navigation process to go through all of the multiple agencies that could say no, and no one seemed to have the power to say yes. I think that's what the Major Projects Office is about. But you have to also then change the underlying legislation so that you're not so that we don't end up being in a situation where the only way to get a project built is to get it on the major projects list. We have to improve the investment climate. So we've offered a model. We've put forward our 120-day approval process for energy once the environmental and Indigenous consultation is done. And we hope that that becomes the kind of accelerated timeline that we'll see the federal government adopt to.
That's all the time we have. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and from Quebec, one more.
So I'll just come back to the speech she gave at the conference. I did watch it, and I'll say that on the positive side, what I took note of was there was a sense of achievement on the conservative side from Danielle Smith in her speech, in her address to the audience. And when I listened to her speak, it was like every grievance, aside from the pipeline, every grievance that I've seen or heard cited by the separatists, whether it's gender ideology, you just go down the whole list of complaints, education, wokeism, censorship. She just goes through the list. It's just she listed the whole group of problems, and in every case she indicated that the provincial government, because they're a conservative government, they've brought in a lot with gun control, the liberal gun grab. She has a solution for every single one, implemented, now in place through legislation, changes in laws, or in the case of the gun grab, saying the police in Alberta have been directed to simply not enforce the federal law. But in every single case, she has a resolution. She's solved the problem. The audience was receptive to that. The only outstanding issue that after listening to it all, that's the only thing, the pipeline out to the West Coast. So I don't think she intended to try to put that argument forward, which is what I'm hearing is it's like, why are you concerned about, well, I guess the only other thing would be transfer payments, which, or equalization payments, which would be one of the other major outstanding issues. She didn't speak to that at all, but very positive in every other regard. And she even points out that you have an increasing number of conservative premiers elected across Canada now. And she seemed optimistic that conservative, and this is the word, everybody gets hung up on Mark Carney's book, Values. They keep coming back to this phrase out at the conference, conservative values, conservative values. She used the phrase several times in her address, conservative values. They're all concerned about values. They just want their values. When I read Carney's book, he talks about values as well, but he, in my assessment of what he was writing in his book, was to try to bring to bear through the economy the Adam Smith style theory of moral sentiments, which is to say, yes, bring values, just human values, but not sort of overlaying or imposing a specific set or kind of values on people. He's not referring to values in quite that way within the book. And I don't want to, we can't dig down into that in real depth here tonight. But what I'm hearing coming out of the conservative shindig out there right now. It's in Ottawa. What I'm hearing out there is like they have very specific conservative values, and they want to bring those to bear across the country. And within those values, you have some of them really rooted in theocratic ideals, Christian-based ideology. It is in its own way just as authoritarian as what we had been getting from the other side of the political aisle in the left, on the left side of the equation, where they were bringing their ideas, ideology, wokeism, whatever, into schools, into academia, into our institutions, and into legislation as well. They're just doing it the other way. I hope we can kind of get back into the middle someplace where just people's values, whatever they might be, are respected and tolerated, and people can live and let live. That is sort of a conservative, centrist perspective, I think, and that's where we've lost the script largely in this country in recent years. Certainly under 10 years of liberal rule through Justin Trudeau, and what you're seeing with this new Prime Minister Carney is something more moderate, more pragmatic, and clearly you're seeing a greater willingness on the part of the government to work with Alberta and reach common ground so that we can get things done. I think at this point it's undeniable that is happening in a very real way, and that's reflected in what the Premier has been saying today. I think her comments at the Conservative conference, the event, reflected that. I think it is all very positive. I think that's encouraging, and I hope that it does address the concerns of the separatist movement out in Alberta and just stamps this thing out. But I'm not sure that it will, and I'm not sure if she's being entirely genuine in what she is saying out there, because she has been moving the goalposts, making changes in legislation, changing the rules, making it easier, much easier, for the separatists to do exactly what they're doing out there. That in itself might just be viewed as strategy to bring more leverage to bear against the federal government as Alberta tries to get that pipeline built. But what they're doing out there is they're still playing with fire. It's a very dangerous game, and I don't think it's being taken nearly serious enough by the federal government at this point. Maybe it is, and they're just having trouble getting their hands around this thing so that they can put forward better arguments in order to kind of appease the concerns and stamp out the separatist fire. But we'll see where it goes. Overall, I think what Danielle Smith brought to us today was more positive. It is encouraging, I think, overall. And I think, too, the Prime Minister has been bringing more positive things. I think they're coming together. So I hope that continues. But what I'm seeing, on the campaign side is still really disturbing, distasteful. This illegal use of the electors list out in Alberta, I think there's more going on there than meets the eye. It is something that I think in itself is enough to invalidate the petition, even though they've collected apparently 300,000 signatures. The whole thing is now tainted, and they've been using illegal means, obviously, to get at least some of those signatures. How many, we just don't know. But if they were able, you see, to figure out that it was the Republican Party that made that list available to the separatists, that's because, you see, that when Danielle Smith talked about the seeded names, that means that they put fake names in the list. And if the names were used, you see, then they can figure out that they've used it illegally. Now, I guess they published the whole list online, which is a no-no, through the Centurion Project website, which is one of the separatist movements. So I to me, it's dirty, it's improper, it skirts the rules, and it should invalidate the entire process, in my view. But she didn't talk about that. She just talked about holding, individuals accountable. See, and who cares if you're a separatist? And the penalty is maybe a year in jail and $100,000, and you probably wouldn't spend the full year in jail. That's the maximum sentence. They might not even be fined the full $100,000. But if one person can take the fall, or maybe just a few people, they'll turn it into a political persecution campaign again. I've seen this already. You're seeing that through the influencers making excuses for the use of this thing, as though it shouldn't matter, doesn't matter. It's not worth our attention. It's very much worth our attention. And this is why I think they've set up multiple organizations, separatist groups, this didn't happen within the main core group collecting the signatures. It happened in one of the offshoot groups, but they're all working together. And the list was used by volunteers. In my view, it invalidates the whole thing. But I don't think that that's where they'll go, because if they do, it will turn into a gigantic political firestorm. They'll put themselves out there as martyrs of some kind, point their finger back at the federal government, or not, at least at Elections Alberta, and blame and point a finger and blame that way. They'll find a way to flip it upside down, turn it inside out, and make people on their side think of it in exactly the opposite way. Like, why shouldn't we be allowed to use the list? Because it's illegal. The whole thing stinks. And I'm tired of it. We'll come back in a minute, and we'll continue.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Been having a little trouble kind of keeping my thoughts focused tonight. I'm sorry, I am fighting a pretty serious headache here tonight, so I'm just, if I'm not as lucid as I normally am, or maybe I seem like I'm making more sense than usual because of it, it's because of that. But I'm doing my best here for you. And that's why I have to pivot back here again, because I forgot to address the question that was sent to me by email overnight. Came from Maureen, who expressed concern about everything going on with this war with Iran. And it is a war, not just a skirmish or an excursion. it's a war. We've seen a cost, in my view, already too high, with U.S. service members killed and a lot of people on the Iranian side killed as well. We're in the fog of war. There's a lot of propaganda out there. But Maureen expressed concern about that. She is worried that this thing is going to escalate even further, that we might actually see boots on the ground because this thing persists. And she asked me, Rick, why do you think Iran just doesn't give up to save lives? I responded to the email saying, because if they surrender, they cease to exist. This is something I don't think Donald Trump fully understood. The majority of people, certainly over here, don't understand that. And you have to understand that what he's dealing with over there, what we are dealing with, the world, is within Iran, you're dealing with a highly motivated government, and a lot of the people who live there, citizens, also highly motivated to resist what is going on with these attacks, with this excursion by the United States and Israel against them. They're highly, highly motivated. And so I said I would try to explain this perspective on it, to maybe provide some clarity on why they don't just give up. It's because Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is not the United States. Iran is a very old civilization, been around a lot longer than the U.S. and Canada. It's been there for a long time in various forms. Trump goes back and justifies what is being done there, goes back as far as 1979, and that's when you had the hostage crisis with the Americans taken hostage and Jimmy Carter president at the time, and then that lingered until it cost him the presidency and we had Reagan come in, and then instantly those hostages were released. But you have to understand that the Shah, who was in place before that, he was basically a U.S. puppet. That's a fact. You can talk about democracy and Western values all you want, but there were clearly a lot of people in Iran back in 1979 who didn't want that. That's why you had the government overthrown, the Shah overthrown, and an Islamic theocracy took its place. Pretty authoritarian, very authoritarian, and no nonsense. You cross the government, you might just end up dead. And there's no question that they have been known to hang political protesters from cranes. Hang them. I see people talking like that over here from time to time, and I'm like, do you even understand what you are saying when they talk about doing similar things like that to our own politicians? I think generally they kind of don't mean it, but I think maybe some of them I question, maybe. Do you really want to have a society like that? Don't talk like that online. Don't talk like that at all. First of all, it'll get you in a lot of trouble over here. And secondly, I don't want to live in a country where that kind of thing takes place. But why don't they just give up? It's because they have their religion. They live in a religious, authoritarian, theocratic. I won't say it's a dictatorship. It isn't a dictatorship. It's a very rigid theocracy, an authoritarian government. And the reason I say it isn't just a dictatorship is because, as you've seen, when they decapitated the leadership, Trump seemed to think that the government would just fall, they'd get regime change, all would be well, and he'd be in control somehow. Or at least the things would be better. They'd get somebody else in there that they could deal with more effectively, but that's not what happened, because it's not just a dictatorship. It's not just one person at the top. It's not just the Ayatollah. It's the IRGC. It's a whole system of government, and they've built layers of resiliency into their government and into their systems of governance, into their ideology. And while we're told here in the West that the people there want to be liberated, I'm certain there are some who do want that. Keep in mind, though, that the playbook here for any government trying to effect regime change, which is clearly what has been part of the objective here, but not achieved. But anytime any government, whether Russia, the United States, China, whatever, when they're trying to control another government, exert their influence and really control it, they, in the case like this, they ramp up the propaganda, they launch an information campaign, generally through the CIA in this case. And you saw what Donald Trump did too, is with Netanyahu, they took over the television broadcast signals at one point, and they were broadcasting themselves, talking to the people of Iran directly through television as they hijacked the television signals. All of it designed to get people out into the streets protesting, to destabilize the society, to create a situation where people are very unhappy with the living conditions, the economy, through sanctions, blockades, and so on, encouraging people to rise up against their own government. Then, of course, saying it's the people doing it organically. Some of them, perhaps, a lot of the people at the very center of it, probably influenced by foreign governments, maybe even paid. They're political operatives, basically, there to affect political change. That's all fueled through these propaganda campaigns. That's the way these things work. You don't just throw your military in there. Not today, not for a long time. The strategy is you get the people to do the dirty work for you. You get the people to rise up against their own government, take it back, and then you say, that's because they want democracy, or they want this, or they want that. And then you say, well, see, they want this, so we better go in there and support them and bomb the hell out of the place. That's why you saw weird things coming from Donald Trump saying, the people of Iran want us to bomb them, which made no sense because somehow he seems to just muck it all up when he starts to talk about it. He's just maybe too honest at times, telling you exactly what he's going to do. But you have to understand that a lot of the people there, including the people running the country, they don't want what the United States wants. They don't want what Donald Trump is offering. They don't want a Western-style government. They don't want Christianity. They want Islam. That's what they want. In their view, Iran, in the view of the Iranians, the United States is the great Satan. Israel too. So if that's what you believe, and many of the people there do, including the people who are currently in charge, you believe that, are you just going to give up? No. Because for them, their religion, their ideology, that's the fabric of what makes up their soul, the fiber of their very being. They would rather die than surrender, bend the knee, and submit to the great Satan, in their view, and submit to a government that then imposes Western ideology, which is either secular, which they don't want. They want the church and state mixed, combined, but they want Islam. They want Islamic law, Sharia law, whatever, right? That's what they want. They don't want what we have over here. And because it's the way they were raised, what they truly believe with every fiber of their being, their very essence, that is who they are. It's not just about living or dying physically for them, it's about fighting for what they want, for what they believe, for what they are. So they're not going to give up. We might think that's crazy. That's not worth fighting for. That's not worth living for. They think the same thing, I guarantee you, about us. Why would they fight for, if you're a Christian, Judeo-Christian values? Or why would they fight for a free democracy where all religions are allowed to exist? And all people are allowed to practice any religion they want. They want what they want. We have our way of life. And when it comes to religion, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or Muslim, everybody thinks their religion is the best. And if you don't subscribe to it, you're all going to hell. And that's why they're all out there in the streets handing out Bibles or Qurans. That's why they're fighting wars, because they think that they need to save the people who don't believe what they believe. That's why all through human history, we've gone to war. So often, it's because for religious reasons. And those religious divisions are exploited by people in power who quite often, really, I'm sure, don't give a rat's behind about any of that. They're focused on money, power, and control. But through propaganda, through brainwashing, through mind control, through lying, and through the use of emotion-based messaging, they drive people freaking crazy. They radicalize people to the point where they will do crazy things up to and including killing other human beings in order to live, but not just live, exist, to be what they believe. They'll die for their beliefs, for their faith, just as many people over here will. I wonder sometimes if any of it is ever actually worth it, like you, Maureen. Like, why not just stop and submit so that you save lives? But do you want to live free? What's freedom? Different means different things to different people. Is your country worth fighting for? A lot of people are like, no, I don't, just separate, destroy the country. While they're saying at the same time, I'm here to save Canada. We have to destroy it in order to save it. A lot of it is nonsensical, what I hear even coming from the mouth of the Premier, Danielle Smith, Alberta. Sometimes I listen to that and I'm like, this is nonsensical. It makes no sense. You start digging into it, you kind of get it, but you know, with regard to all of this, it's politics, it's religion, it's ideology, it's faith. It's insane. I don't think I'm insane. Do you think you're insane? They don't think they're insane. They think we're insane. We think they're insane because we believe different things. That's the lesson. That's what we need to focus on, is realizing that they're just different. We have to learn to respect other people and not try to impose our will so that we don't have to blow each other up. Largely, that's why I want to save this country. Because Canada has been all along, from its very creation, a country of compromise, conciliation. We've always, through our history, we've evolved We were a country of evolution, not revolution. We are the way we are. The status of our Constitution is as it is because we've tried to find a way for everyone to work together, live together, without killing each other. Here, it largely started with the English and the French. Quebec, Upper and Lower Canada, right? We got together, and Canada was also, formed, I think, in large part because of the emerging and ongoing threat from the United States. When I say threat, they're our closest friend and ally, our neighbor, but also there's just been constant, ongoing pressure from the U.S. side for us to become like them or become part of them. Never more intense than it has been right now, maybe except with the exception of, 1812 and the War of 1812. And in the face of that, we came together, the English, the French, First Nations, find a way to keep this place alive, to keep, even before Canada was Canada, we were loyalists. And, I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure how it went, but it probably went something like this. Hello, my French friend. It's too bad Ian isn't here right now. We have this threat from over there, from the other side. They want to come here and they want to invade us. And then my French friend would say, okay, well, we will get together then and we will work together. And I'd be like, okay, so I'll speak English, you speak French. We'll go get Chief Tecumseh and the First Nations people, and we'll work together, and we'll oppose this, and we'll resist. And then it evolves into, we found different ways to keep our country, make our country different. Our culture is different up here than it is in the U.S. We have different things. And a lot of it is because of Quebec and the French language. There is so much that is different here. Some of it very significant. Some of it significant when it seems insignificant. Because when I wake up in the morning, if I have a bowl of cereal and there's a box of cornflakes in front of me, on one side it's English, on the other side it's French. That's not the case in the U.S. It's a little thing. But when I talk about gasoline, it's liters, not gallons. Now I understand why Pierre Trudeau implemented the metric system when I was a kid. I'm mathematically bilingual in terms of measurements. Metric and SAE, sockets, right? Just millimeters, centimeters versus feet, inches. We're different. And we still have ties that we have maintained in various ways with the EU, Europe. Not to say that the United States isn't important to us. It certainly is, but so is our sovereignty. So anyway, the bottom line, Maureen, is, in my own way, I'm just sort of trying to answer the question here, which is, they're not going to give up. Because a lot of the people, and I would say probably a lot more than we're being told here in Canada and the US and in the West, because of the propaganda from both sides, but certainly the American side. There are a lot more people in Iran that support the government than we're probably being told. and they will fight to the death. Because if they just give up and they just surrender to save lives, then, well, they know that they will then cease to exist. Because their way of life will come to an end. Their theocracy, their religion will be under threat. It will be opposed, overwritten, it'll just be over in many respects, because they'll bring back what they had with the Shah, which is Western values, secular society, and I don't know how much real freedom there was under the Shah, because certainly I don't think they had real democracy, because he was a puppet. So do you want to live like that? And here in Canada, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live under the thumb of a foreign government with excessive foreign influence dictating the direction of the country, influencing decisions that people here make politically. I want them to stay out so that we get to determine our destiny as a people, a collective people, as Canadians. And we are a different kind of country. Trudeau called it a post-nation or post-national state. Words are important. I've seen so much commentary on the conservative side, and I've kind of commented on it in the past in a similar way. But my views on some of this language have evolved a bit, and it's more tempered now, because I have I think a greater understanding, having been sitting in this chair, immersed in the politics as I have been to such a degree over the past 5 or 6 years, that I'm understanding everybody's perspective a little bit more. And in many respects, in very real ways, Canada is a post-nation state. But that doesn't mean it isn't a real country, and I'm certain that's not what Justin Trudeau meant. It's just that he was careless with his words. I think he was a lousy prime minister for that reason being one of the main ones. He didn't choose his words carefully enough, wasn't sensitive enough to the way that his words could be used to divide the country. And so I run the risk here even tonight by saying that I understand, I think, what he was trying to say. And the point is that it's the words themselves and how they're defined that is important. To understand what a nation is. What is nation? What does that mean? And what is a state? What is a country? See, a nation is like a group of people that identify with each other based on race or culture or maybe language. And you can have a country that is unified based on one or multiples of those things specifically, or at least the support for the country stems largely from those ideas or those factors, right? That's a nation. But like a nation itself doesn't make up a country or a state. That's why you have like Ford Nation, right? Doug Ford campaigning, getting his people together. It's Ford Nation. Sports teams use that phrase sometimes. Clubs. It can be utilized in a variety of ways. What is a nation? It's a group of people who come together based on some commonality. A state is something else. A state is government, a form of, like, it is sovereignty. It's a representation of sovereignty through an expression of government and government control, but it is not necessarily, you don't need people to become cohesive strictly on the basis of religion or skin color or language or those kinds of factors in order to create a state. And in fact, I would argue that even in the United States, while they've always purported to be a cultural melting pot, that's not what they've wound up with. They want it to be like that, and with Trump, they're trying to exert that on the U.S. side, saying that you must speak English, you must, if you're a true American, then you're an American, you're not any of these other things. But that's not true. It's on its face, it's not true. You have people with all kinds of different cultural, religious, and linguistic backgrounds who make up the country, just like Canada does. The culture is somewhat different down in the U.S., and a lot of that is because of slavery and the legacy of slavery that lingers today, and in the way that they've treated First Nations. Honestly, some of the language I heard coming out of that conservative conference today, I didn't like it because it was pretty bigoted, honestly. I won't dig into it. I don't want to set the world on fire tonight, but disrespectful is what it was, especially with regard to First Nations. Canada, though, it's a special place. At least it should be. Still could be. See, I don't want to live in a place like Iran. I don't have any sympathy for the government because it is authoritarian and I believe in freedom. But see, when I look down at what's going on at the United States right now with this Trump administration, this regime, I don't see a hell of a lot of difference in what they're trying to achieve. It's just the only real difference is that, at least one of the main elements of this movement that we've seen take root through the Trump administration is this push for a Christian nationalism. That's no damn different than what they have in Iran, except that one is Islam and the other is Christian. And we've seen that battle play out all through history. And so many people have died because of it. You see, that's why I don't like it. There's no need for it if you can just live and let live and let them live over there and you live over there. And just because these people are over there, I don't want to kill anybody. And I don't want to be killed. And I don't want to be part of that. And I don't want to be rounding people up and throwing them in concentration camps. And I don't want to be rounding people up, even after promises of citizenship have been made, because of their skin color or their religion or just the way they think, and then loading them on planes and shipping them off to some Central American country where they are thrown in a prison, maybe for life, deemed to be illegal immigrants. And if they are illegal, then, if they're not in the country legally, fine. Deal with it that way. But You know as well as I do, that is not really the only thing that's been going on. Mistakes have been made. The attitude is such that you're seeing a real rise in bigotry. It's a very real thing. Fascism is a real thing. And I was in denial, or maybe just blinded to it, because I just didn't think people would really, really go there. But they have. And I ain't part of it. I don't want any part of it. Because I really do believe in freedom. I'm here to fight for freedom. Immigration? Yeah, man, we've had too much immigration. Too fast, just too many people. Too fast. Housing markets, the impact on the economy. I get all of that. And I see what the Liberals have done, where they've kind of made deals, where they've brought in groups of immigrants from specific areas, certain countries. You can sort of see, and you've seen some admissions even on the conservative side for the same, who've been involved in the same kind of activity, right? Political support for this, and backroom deals made, and if we do this and you support us, then we'll let you bring in more people, and those kinds of deals. That stuff's been going on, not just in Canada, but in the U.S. too. It's been going on for far too long. And if you really want a diverse society, then have a diverse society and bring people in from a bunch of different countries, so that no one group dominates. But I would say that means for everybody. And as long as we have the system in place that we have, it can and has been working. It's just been sort of circumvented, undermined in some ways in the past decade. And it's terrible, because it has been very special. Not perfect, and a lot of problems along the way, but nothing's perfect. But if waking up in the morning and and looking at a cereal box seeing French is the price I have to pay so that I don't have to go and kill my friend in Quebec, then I'm all for that. And that goes all the way down the line for everybody, because I just don't want that here. We don't have to. Canada has been different, and it is worth saving. And I hope that a lot of people see it that way too. Got a lot of people out there trying to tear this place down. And I'll tell you right now, Maureen, you're worried about people dying over there. Me too. And I'll tell you this, I'm so glad, so thankful that I am Canadian while all this is going on, because just like Vietnam, our sons and daughters are not over there participating. We have people in the area, but we're not actively participating in this. And I don't think we should be. Not this one. Not this one. Because what I see going on over there has roots in greed and control and politics, religion. It's a skirmish, an excursion, a war that is being fought for reasons that I don't want to fight for. And it's a trap. This is the whole thing with Trump. I don't see it quite the way a lot of the others see it. I don't think he's as crazy as people make him out to be. I think he acts crazy and says crazy things. And when he's declared the war over the other day, I think he meant it. And Rubio said that the objectives had been met. I think the main objective has been met. And because I think the main objective is simply being to disrupt oil trade, to make it go up and down, let his friends profit. And there's a DOJ investigation launched, I believe, today into insider trading as a result of the strange trades being made in the oil futures market. As an announcement is made by Trump, making the prices go up and down, oil prices up and down. Millions and millions and millions of dollars being made, as billions of dollars have been invested at just the right time and just the right way, with all the right predictions being made. That's just the money side. But you see, this whole thing, the chaos, it gives Trump exactly what he wants, as he's trying to restructure the world. He blocked that oil, disrupts oil prices, restricts supply. Now the world's coming to the United States for oil, for energy. It gives him leverage and power. I don't know. And these guys are carving the world up, or they're trying to carve it up into 3 spheres of dominance. And this addresses exactly that. Not in quite the way I think that Trump was hoping. Because, Maureen, those people in Iran are not going to just bend the knee. In Venezuela, it was a different deal. He went in with the military. They kidnapped Maduro. That was pretty much a dictatorship, you see. One guy at the top, and then people below him. A corrupt government, for sure. Do I agree with the way they did it? No. But what did they do? They made a deal with an underling, and then they went in. Somebody sold out Maduro because he's a gangster. They swooped in, kidnapped him, took him out, and then now they have somebody who's more agreeable, more compliant in place. Easy peasy. As difficult as it sort of might have been to affect the military operation, which the U.S. military did with extreme precision and skill, following orders. But Iran is a different deal. It wasn't ever just one guy at the top, many, many layers of government below it, and they have pretty strongly held beliefs. It's not over. He kicked a hornet's nest, and I'm with you, Maureen. I hope that we don't get a lot of death over there, more than we have had. And I hope we don't get sucked into it, because it's just a huge mistake at the end of the day. A lot of complicated issues surrounding the whole damn thing, and even after it's over, it won't be over. It all ties together too, doesn't it? Sure as hell does. Maybe that's why they're releasing the UFO files. We'll dig into that on the other side of this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. I don't know if my thoughts were clear enough. Hopefully I didn't misspeak on anything. Playing with fire with any of those issues, and that's a whole bunch of issues all wrapped up in a great big combustible ball. So I hope I wasn't misunderstood. Just pray for peace. What else to say at this point other than, my God, the craziness, the zaniness. It's just, it's all crazy and zany tonight because we have the Pentagon releasing this, dropping these new files on UFOs. And what's that all about? Well, let's, I've got the stuff here. Let's just take a look at like 160 some photos and videos released today and files. And I thought we could go over some of this together this evening. Here's the website. Right there. This is war.gov /UFO/. And Donald J. Trump posting, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. Let's take a look. So these are some of the photos. We'll scroll through some of them here tonight. Let's go exploring into the world of UFOs, UAPs, aliens. This is an FBI photo, B2 from 2025, infrared still image, black, hot, captured of unidentified object over western United States in September of last year. And what am I seeing? I see a little dot. So some of the influencers out there, most notably I would say Alex Jones, saying that this file drop today is a great big nothing burger. That looks like a helicopter to me. And this is infrared still image, black, hot, captured of unidentified object below helicopter over western United States in September of 2025, and I see a dot. I see a little tiny dot down there below the 5, about 1/4 of the way up the page. I don't know why that is of extreme importance, but there it is. 2 dots. Unidentified object, this is the same thing, zoomed in. 2 dots, zoomed in. This one's kind of different. This is one of the main images making the rounds tonight, going viral. This is, it's captioned here, actual site photo with FBI lab rendered graphic overlay depicting corroborating eyewitness reports from September of 2023 of an apparent ellipsoid bronze metallic object materializing out of a bright light in the sky, 130 to 195 feet in length and disappearing instantaneously. So that's supposed to be a photo of it. Now that I would say is pretty freaking weird. Keep in mind, this is released by government, so I guess we're supposed to take this seriously and believe that this is authentic because it's coming from a credible source, the Department of War, maybe. I'll say, okay, what is that? This is imagery from the Apollo 17 mission to the moon. The yellow box contains an enlarged area of the original photo in which these lights are visible above the lunar terrain. And I guess they can't figure out what that is. 3 dots. This is near the United Arab Emirates in a video from October 2023. And I see a dot. A lot of dots. This is a reported UAP near Greece flying straight above the ocean towards land, I guess. Do you see anything? That looks like an airplane. Still from a video featuring an 8-pointed area of contrast captured via infrared sensor in the Middle East UAP report 2013. U.S. military operator reported UAP while operating within African airspace. That's back in 2025, last year sometime. I have some video too. We'll cue some of that stuff up and maybe that will be more revealing. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command reported UAP that resembles a football-shaped body near Japan. That was in 2024. So why are these things always so blurry? Can't they ever take a clear picture? U.S. Army reported UAP in North America in 2026. I don't know what month, doesn't say. Infrared still image captured of unidentified object over western United States in December of 25. Last December. Another big black dot. Unidentified object. 2025. Same thing, I think. Yeah, these look like repeats. Yeah, we're going around in circles now. Those are the main ones. Let's see if we can get the video up. Is it riveting for you? Is it doing anything for you tonight? Why am I not really that surprised that we're not learning very much from this? But all the hype and the excitement and now this. Okay, here's one of the more interesting clips from the UAP UFO released today. This is a luminous sphere gliding between wind turbines, tracked by a classified U.S. military infrared sensor. Let's see if we can get this up. Here we go. Let's take a look. It's a little white dot. They're tracking it. And that totally changes directions, or appears to. Kind of zipping back and forth all over the place. It's a white dot. Between wind turbines. What do you guys think? I don't know what to make of that. It's coming back. I don't know what that is. I know it's a white dot. Some people say, it just proves that there's extraterrestrial. I don't think that proves anything about that. I guess you can have fun with that one, but I'm looking for something a little more concrete. That one with the white dot and the wind turbines, that's getting a lot of traction. I don't know. What else do I have for you? I think I've got another video here. Got to go back up to the top of this page to see if I've got it. Maybe it's just that. Yeah, it's just this wind turbine thing. That's the main one. Here's another thing. Released. Okay, let's bring this one up. This is different. Now, this is not straight off the website, so I hope it's actually the real deal. I have no idea what that is. It's like a... What is this? Is this even real? This looks like somebody making something up to me. Yeah, that's... There's no way that's a thing released by the government today. That's something different. It's got to be. And you're getting all these reports out there here. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. This is the name of this podcaster. Let's just listen in and see what he has to say.
The United States government just released UFO files on the Maine Department of War's X account. It's nothing special. It's at least a step in the right direction. But I want everyone to remember that our top national security threat is the fact that we've had advanced technologies for decades and they're not being used to serve humanity. They're not being used to make our cities better and our lives better here at home. And so that's the top concern, is we can't have a bunch of weirdos that don't have good intentions for the rest of us having access or keys to the kingdom to advanced technologies that you can't even imagine. The only way to increase the probability of a good outcome is to get this technology in the hands of people we vote for. Apparently, even the president can't even get access to this technology if they wanted. And the question is, who does have access? And are we even voting them into office? From the perspective of our top CIA and military officials, the answer to that question is no. In my opinion, as we push for more disclosure, we are going to see more chaos around the world because there's going to be a resistance. Whoever has access to this technology does not want to share it. Technologies that can absolutely enhance our lives or make our lives incredibly worse. My name's Will Robinson, and thank you for getting informed.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger. That's retro movie stuff. We do have incredible technology, and we're developing crazier technology all the time. The challenge is even the way we perceive the world around us and the universe itself. No doubt about it. Quantum technology, Einstein theory of relativity, resulting in nuclear power, fission technology, now evolving, moving into fusion technology, which is not splitting atoms, it's about fusing them together and getting even more energy out of something than you put into it. That's what they're telling us they are going to be able to do. And they're trying to scale that technology. And there can be good and bad that comes out of that. And really, that's what it is all about. The entire universe is ruled by balance. Where there is light, there is also dark. Where there is good, there is also evil. But tonight, even those I think who really would like for a lot of this to be revealing in some way are frustrated. Alex Jones, you know, the king of this kind of conspiracy stuff, if you want to call it that, tonight saying this is just a great big nothing burger.
Now, I predicted it. Congressman Burchett predicted it. So many others did. Absolute nothing burger released with the so-called UFO alien files, the first.
I don't want everybody to get their hopes up. I don't have a lot of faith in our government. President Trump's always been great to me. He's never lied to me, but I don't know that he knows the right questions to ask and the right people to talk to, because, I mean, this thing's been covered up at least since 1947, and I just don't think they're gonna, they don't give up that easy. The war pimps at the Pentagon and everybody else, they just don't give up that easy.
The Pentagon releases over and over again, a decade-old video of a F-18 pilot or whatever flying behind a Tic Tac. This is what they released today. Oh my goodness, we've only seen this 85 billion times. So they knew on purpose. They're jerking our chain. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Oh my goodness. That's obviously, not fake. And then you read, it's, this is just an artist rendering. Oh, wow. We get artist renderings. Man, this is amazing.
A White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it, it says AARO files copy 2 of 3. That is the all domain resolution office copy 2 of 3. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them have not. And we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best videos so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here.
People are seeing this stuff everywhere. Giant fireballs during the day, during the night coming in over Texas. I mean, there's a lot of activity. Something's definitely going on. A lot of this is obviously human secret technology. We already know that. But why would the White House hype all this up and then release 10 videos, 3 of them are already out, of just Tic Tacs? I mean, we have color HD in New York and other areas of Tic Tacs flying around in between the buildings at, Mach 10 and then making right angle turns. I mean, that's not technology the government admits we have, though we have a lot of evidence they do have it, which is very reminiscent of this disclosure with the Fox News host holding up the data card. We have it. We have the exclusive of early in the second Trump administration last year, holding up the binders. Remember that? Holding up the binders of Epstein. Oh, here, it's all here. It's been fully disclosed, and 98% of it was old. So, this is all very interesting, but we've seen thousands of videos like this. We were told, are the aliens real? Does the government have craft? Are they hiding them? And then now we get an old photo of Pentagon begins releasing new files on UFOs and says the public can draw its own collusion. And it's a stretcher with a body bag on it. A stretcher with a body bag. I mean, wow. Oh, look, Roswell, 1948, a body bag. Wow. Why don't you tell us what was in it? It's unbelievable. So they're jerking our chain yet again. At the end of the day, I don't even blame Trump, because the X-Protect group, from all the experts we've talked to and astronauts, you name it, doesn't even ever let that information get to the president. He should compartmentalize, but this is a joke.
And he's back with his new channel, his new platform, InfoWars, off the air, taken down, blah, 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 and he was immediately back on anyway. It's all a show, man. It's all a show. And this is just the latest episode of the UFO files from the Trump administration. Why? Why is he doing this? Could it be to distract from something?
They both look clean, but the guest list redacted, if you know what I mean. you'll get dumped. They dance with the girls too young to vote. A private jet and a suicide note. One's in a grave, the other still tweets. The truth took a dive 6,000 feet. Oh, the cameras broke. That's not a joke. The guards were napping, the logs were gone, and everyone smiled like nothing's wrong. Nobody talks, just shadow walks. National security took the stage while justice quietly disengaged. We can't release the names to protect the victims. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another news spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
Time to bring you tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee feature presentation. This is, well, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, you have to jump off, go visit us over on Rumble or one of our other social media platforms tonight where we continue to live stream. We will be ending the broadcast on YouTube. They never like it when we run the Maverick Midnight Matinee movies on Friday evenings, which is what we're about to do right now. As we're going to bring you it's like the granddaddy, the father or the mother of all the sort of kind of UFO documentaries. It's like one of the very first, the originals from the 1950s. It's called The UFO. Other titles for it out there as well, but I've got a clean copy of it. And the clean copies are kind of hard to come by. Some of you may have seen this stuff before, in part or maybe in whole. But we're going to run this entire feature tonight on the program. And this is kind of where it all started in a really significant way. This documentary from 1956. So stay with me. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll bring you tonight's special Maverick Midnight Matinee presentation, a watch party. We'll do it together. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of Maverick Midnight Matinee. where the coffee's strong, the skies are weird, and the government just dropped another stack of UFO files today. So tonight we're going to go full retro. We're talking 1956, the height of the flying saucer panic, and the movie that dared to say, hey, maybe the Air Force isn't telling us everything. And we keep hearing that even today. So ladies and gentlemen, strap into your theater seats, or your seats at home, or your bed, or your sofa, or wherever you're sitting, or laying, or standing, and just kill the lights. Fire up unidentified flying objects, the true story of flying saucers. That's the one name. Others call it just the UFO. Goes by a bunch of different names, but it's the granddaddy of all UFO pseudo-documentaries. It's not entirely a documentary. It's also partly, largely entertainment. But this is the one that spawned so many others. This ain't just a movie. This is history with dramatic reenactments and actual declassified footage from the 1950s. I think maybe we're going to see more in this movie, more released, disclosed files than we of relevance than we saw today from the Trump administration. So, are you ready? Grab your popcorn, keep one eye on the sky, and let's see what they knew back then. Here we go.